What is going on? Coming up on the Commissioner's Corner podcast this week, we got Deca's Corner. That's right, the new segment on the MBL Network. We got a new Hall of Fame inductee. We're going to be talking about that. We also have 12 players that I feel should be cut in MBL Season 23. That's right, stepping away from a team they've been on for a very long time. We're also going to be doing a redraft of MBL Season 22, the rookie redraft. If they could do it over today, this is probably how they do it. And we have that and much more coming up on episode 14 of the Commissioner's Corner podcast. All right, guys, it's March 11th. As I said earlier, episode number 14. It was Friday the 13th for the Commissioner Corner podcast last time, Lipp. We're week 16, MBL Season 22. This is our live show, Commissioner Corner podcast. You got to love it. Lipp, we always start with a 2-minute drill, but this time it's going to be a little unique. You're going to be completely blind to the questions. Are you ready for this?
I am ready. Let's do it.
I think you're supposed to be like Todd, and you know what you're supposed to say. Let's try.
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right, Lipp. So we're gonna get started with the 2-minute drill. Biggest disappointment and biggest surprise team for season 22 in the NBL.
Hey, I've been saying it all year. Biggest disappointment, them Saints. Biggest surprise, I love the Jets. They're doing good things. I'm proud of them. Good job.
Yeah, definitely. Building the Franchise Bowl 3 is coming up on the MBL Network week 17. Can the Jags get that victory over their rival New England Patriots and make this a series?
Yo, I think that this is the year for the Jags. The Patriots are in such a miserable spot right now. I think this is the Jags' time. If they don't do it, I've got serious questions about them.
If you were a Saints fan right now, how would you be feeling?
Oh, I would be feeling very terrible. Out of all the money that was spent this last offseason, and to be in the position that we're at right now, 6-8 currently, gonna finish 7-9, would just be sick to my stomach about where that team is being ran.
All that money, Bud Dupree money. All right, we're 4 seasons into this Madden cycle. Which franchise do you think has made the biggest misstep thus far, and why?
I'm gonna give it out to the Cincinnati Bengals. They had very fantastic roster. They let good talent rot on their roster. They let good talent go too early, and they replaced it with absolute crap, and they just can't get it done. So that's the biggest misstep so far in 4 seasons.
And the final question on the 2-minute drill is Derek Carr overrated? Is that still a thing going on? # Carr overrated?
I think that Carr is a little overrated, but I think he's got more problems with consistency. First half of the season, they're always bad, and then the second half, they come alive. If they could just be consistent, play the way they do in the back half the whole year, they would be a playoff team every single year. So right now, I would say a little bit Carr's overrated.
All right, that's the 2-minute drill live. Lipp, how'd you feel doing that? A little more organic this time, a little more live feeling. You definitely did a great job, man. Only question I got, because I'm looking at biggest disappointments and biggest surprise. I think Jets. And disappointment, I think we go Rams as well over there in the NFC West. I mean, this is a team that won back-to-back divisions and just completely fell off the face of the earth right now. Building the Franchise Bowl, I think you nailed it with the Jacksonville Jaguars getting this win. This is the year for them. They're obviously playing a lot better, and that rookie quarterback they got to go over there is doing great things. I know New England's a little jealous about that because it didn't really work out for Nick Dorian over there in New England. Saints fans right now, you got that right. 4 seasons into this cycle, and you said the Bengals. I think that's correct too. And the Carr overrated, I agree completely. So I mean, great job on that. Let's give a minute to give a shout out to our sponsor, Web3cast.com. They got affordable graphics for all your creative needs. That's right, affordable graphics. I'm a Hollywood sportsist. Affordable graphics for all your creative needs, meaning they got everything that you want creative wise for a cheap price. And that's what you got. They're the sponsor of the MBL Network. You can find them at web3cast.com. Also on Twitter, @allbusiness. And don't forget to follow the MBL on Twitter, @Bomber League, and also our MBL Network, which will be retweeting and tweeting all of our content we got coming up. We got a lot of great things coming on in the show, a lot of new content. And speaking of some new content coming up, I feel like there should be theme music for this guy coming up, Lipp. What do you think? It's time. I mean, we got to see. I want to hear the glass break. Maybe we'll get a Stone Cold Steve Austin, glass break just to really hype this intro up. But we got Deca's Corner coming up. We're gonna get his graphic up right now. We got it's fire and brimstone right now. He's about to give you some hard thoughts and opinions that are really gonna just question what teams are doing. So Deca, I believe we have you on the line right now. Deca, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Bomber. Thanks for having. I didn't think you'd ever shut the hell up and let me talk.
He says what I'm thinking all the time. There we go, Deca's corner.
And that's Deca's corner right now. I let it slide, man, because I don't want any part of Deca, dog. I'm telling you, this cold music should be cutting right now, and we should be hearing the Provo. But I heard you got some thoughts, and you wanted to share some stuff. You're like, I want to come on Commissioner's Corner podcast, and I want to tell the world what I'm thinking right now, Week 16, MBL Season 22. So tell us what's on your mind. What you got going on in Deca's corner right now? What you got cooking up?
Oh, we're nearing the end of another season, and looking at the numbers for some of these teams, it's just been. I'm perplexed. We've got 3 teams that represented their divisions last year they're running at 5-10. I mean, what the hell is going on in this league where you go from the top of your division to the scrap heap?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is it something in the locker room? Is it coaching? Is it the players themselves? I mean, there's a lot of talent on these teams.
Yeah, you're looking at a team like the Los Angeles Rams. I feel like you're calling them out right now. Who else we got on that list? This is like, that was a little subliminal shot at the Los Angeles Rams. We don't know. That's the same roster that they had last year, Deca, that they won 2 back-to-back division titles with, and now they're sitting at 5-9. What is going on with the Los Angeles Rams?
I don't have a damn clue. I mean, you've got the Rams, the Bills, the Packers. It's crazy. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, let's look at the Packers real quick as you brought them up. Rob Gronkowski was their big signing. You think that would help the running game? They went out and paid a lot of money to him. I mean, this is the cover athlete. 2.3 yards per carry, Denard Robinson, and then Tremaine Cheneau, 2.2 yards per carry. Deca, any insight? Maybe this is a locker room issue. This team can't run the ball at all. Eddie Lacy only got 7 carries this year, and that was their workhorse, their 3-down back for the last couple seasons. Went from 194 carries 2 seasons ago in MBL Season 20, Season 21, 40 carries, now to 7. What's going on? Eddie Lacy is just rotting away in Green Bay.
I tried to find a way to call out the owner on that, but the Packers have the most balanced offense in the game from a running, passing standpoint. I don't know if it's offensive line, if they've lost their heart. I just don't know.
Definitely
I don't know. Is Aaron Rodgers, is he really done? I mean, they're just not getting anything done out there.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers hasn't played since Week 10. We're in Week 16 right now. He's definitely sitting on the bench. That looks to be a potential cut. Wasting away, Lipp. I mean, Lipp, let's take this over on the Bills. He mentioned the Bills at the end on Deca's corner. So we got the what the hell are you doing for the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Green Bay Packers. We haven't touched on the Buffalo Bills. Lipp, you're in the AFC. Give us a little insight. Let's get into the mind of Deca, why he chose these Buffalo Bills, who I felt were a little overperforming the last 2 years. They were riding with that veteran quarterback, keep bringing the plug and play. And this year they go with Phillip Rivers, and it just does not work out. They did a lot better with Matt Ryan. The previous year Phillip Rivers goes down, and Robert Griffin III somehow is their starter. So, Lipp, give us a little, back and forth with Deca right now, and see your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, well, I'll say 2 things. I could say that this is because of injuries. That David Johnson and Sammy Watkins have missed some time. But I'm going to pin it all on Justin and their inability to commit to a quarterback. And they're just trying to fill the most important position on your roster with guys that aren't working out anywhere. They won't spend the money in free agency. They won't go out and commit to a guy in the draft. So this is what they get. They deserve this for not being able to commit to a quarterback. And I'm putting it all on the management of Justin and the Bills.
Well, and I would tend to agree with that. And in all honesty, he's not alone in the league. There's a couple of teams that I'm going to call out on this, because there's others that are in the same bind due to the exact same reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. I think that you're going to see a couple teams do that in the future as well. I know that the Bengals and the Packers are looking at letting good quarterbacks go. I think you're going to see similar issues like the Bills are having coming up in the future. Rams are also possibly letting Jared Goff walk. So we're going to see this happen in a couple seasons as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of great quarterbacks to be had in this next free agency market. Speaking of we had the New England Patriots They drafted what appeared to be a fantastic quarterback a few drafts back.
Nick Doring?
Yeah, Nick Doring. And they trotted out a rookie this year. For 4 games, the guy was nothing short of terrible. And I really can't understand the mindset of having what could be a damn good – I mean, that dude's got to be terrible.
Hey, let's talk about this quarterback. That's Turner Tennant. Who he's talking about right now. He played week 11, 12, 13, and 14. He had a QBR of 55.8, 4 touchdowns, 10 interceptions with a completion percentage of 59 on 111 attempts. Yes, took 12 sacks in those 4 games as well, so had problems getting rid of the ball, and finished with interceptions of 2, 3, 1, and his final game of 4, which they aren't playing him anymore. It looks like they've gone back to Nick Doring. But let's bring this full circle, Deca. So out of those teams you've mentioned, you got the Patriots, the Bills, the Rams, and the Packers. I want you to give the team that you really think takes the cake, the icing on the cake, the one that takes the whole enchilada in this one. No homo on that. I want you to give the idea. Tell us, what the hell are you doing? Name the team and give us the catchphrase and let them know that team right here is really the focal point of this whole conversation.
Oh, without a doubt. In this particular scenario and those 4 teams, it's got to be the Rams. What the hell are you guys doing? I mean, there's way too much talent on this team to be where you're at right now. It's insane.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Deca. Views just went up about 10 just from Deca's corner. We appreciate you having you on. Los Angeles Rams, man, we need to get a response from the Rams. And I'm going to get a response from the Rams. And the next time we come on, I want you to come back on the show, Deca. And I want you to, kind of rebuttal what these Rams are going to say, because there's a lot of excuses going on in LA right now. I really love their franchise and where they were going, but blaming Jared Goff is not the answer for this team. So I really am interested in their response to Deca's corner, and we can see where we take it from this, but we really are happy that you came on. This is your second segment on the MBL Network, and we look to have you multiple times with the Commissioner's Corner podcast and making you a consistent contributor to the show. So we just want to say thank you for coming on, and if there's any last words you want to give out to the MBL Network, all ears, everybody's listening right now.
You don't want to be on this show, fellas. I'm going to leave it at that.
And that's a great way to leave it. Once again, that's Deca Dog Commissioner Corner podcast. That's Deca Dog. What the hell are you doing? That's the segment, and that's the show. Really some fiery stuff, man. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys in the chat. Let's see what we got going on in the chat right now before we get to our next topic. Look like Sonny's in the chat saying cut golf. And I could see why he's saying that. Definitely a team in the prime looking for a quarterback.
That's not Sonny trying to land golf at all, folks. Don't
yeah,
look at
definitely.
That. Nothing to see
all right,
here.
Guys. So we had a Hall of Fame inductee recently. We tried to hype it up on the show. We cut it off a little early. Shout out to Heartless. But so Bob is actually going to be the new Hall of Fame in the NBL. Lipp, give us your thoughts on Bob and how far he's grown as an owner so far, and being inducted to the NBL Hall of Fame. This is a big deal.
Hey, I remember a long time ago, I started out just messaging people, trying to help out with little things, and I remember Bob coming in, doing the same things like that, and then just watching him grow into managing, all of the stats by himself, and then getting a team and managing all of them and developing those guys to really find the stats that not always stand out, and you have to dig for them and do research. And it's really one of those things that keeps the league going, because our rules are so important, and everybody playing under the same rules is so important. So having people that are willing to commit to that and lead that, like Josh, it's very it's so good to have, and I'm very proud of him, and I congratulate him on being an NBL Hall of Famer.
And also, I want to look at this picture, man. That head is square as it can get. I mean, that's SpongeBob square head. I think he was on the Lego movie, possibly, a silhouette of him, because, man, that is the squarest head I've ever seen. And what happened to his MBL Network shirt in that? I mean, that is the most ruffled collar I've ever seen. So we're going to shame you a little bit when you get the Hall of Fame and you get on the Commissioner's Corner podcast. We talk about you, and we get to see that picture and actually put a face to this voice I've been hearing so long. But, man, that head, man, that's got, man, props to his neck for holding that head up, because that has got to be at least 25 to 35-pound watermelon sitting on top of that head, real nicely right there. And destroying MBL Network property, man, that's like destroying the dollar bill in the U.S., man. That's a federal offense in the MBL. So we might be pressing charges on that. All jokes aside, congrats Josh. That was huge, man. I mean, that was a big deal. Now we're gonna move along. We're moving along at a fast pace right now. We're gonna get on to players who should be cut this offseason. I created a list of 12. Lipp doesn't really even know the list right now, but he's gonna defend it. I know he will. I know he's got my back. But let's start on that list right now. So Gibbs is gonna pull up that list for us right now. And at number 1 on my 12 people that should be cut next year list, we got my guy, Richard Sherman, cornerback from the Seattle Seahawks. And you're probably thinking, why? Why would they cut Richard Sherman, this cornerback? Because he's wasted away in Seattle. I think Earl Thomas needs to be cut too. I haven't put him on the list, though, just because I feel like safeties, Lipp, just like smart safeties, I feel like you need those. Like, even if your team is transitioning, which I think, Seattle's transitioning to a younger team. I mean, you look who's leading their league in tackles, Kendron Kaysen, also with 5 interceptions, DeAndre Hall, Jalen Collins. These are young players, man. And I think Sherman, they just need to let him go and allow him to find an opportunity to play somewhere. The team is not doing well. They're 6-9 right now. It's pretty much over for that team really having any kind of playoff and championship aspirations. They're probably 2 seasons out. And if you look at a guy like Richard Sherman, who's still got a little bit left in his tank. I mean, arguably one of the best in the league. He's 30 years old. He's going to be 31 in MBL season 23 next year. What are your thoughts on me having Richard Sherman on this list?
No, I think that's good. I think for a few seasons ago, Richard Sherman was a must-have piece on your defense, but I don't think this division's all about defense. I think if you transition from having a strong defense to having a lights-out offense, and you could do that by freeing up some cap space with Richard Sherman, I think that you could take this division with an offense. So it's time to get rid of Sherman and invest in the offense, and then you will win that division for many seasons, I believe.
All right, and next on the list, I got the Cincinnati Bengals halfback, who I call him the Marcus Allen of the NBL. I mean, he's just career has just been buried in Cincinnati. This is a halfback I think a lot of teams would like to have. I mean, he's got that ability to make big plays, and he's something out of the backfield that you can throw the ball to and really trust. And as a quarterback that's big in a league that really requires you to make strategic reads, and it requires you to, not just drive the ball down the field, but to actually make the underneath throws and rely on those idiot to short routes as well. And I think he's one of the best in the business at halfback to do it. He was up there with Darren Sproles to me. I think he's definitely a gadget back at this point in his career. But, man, he really wasted away in Cincinnati. He's going to become a free agent at the end of this year. But I have him on the cut list because if Sonny was even thinking about re-signing him, he should just cut him. Like, he should have been cut 2 seasons ago. This is a long time overdue. It's really sad that a guy like Giovanni Bernard, who a couple years ago wasn't being used. He was 25 years old, man, prime in his career. He's 27 now. He's going to turn 28. Someone will take a chance on him, and he will get paid. I think he will get paid fairly, pretty good money right now. What do you think about halfback Giovanni Bernard going to a team maybe that is struggling in the run? Maybe a team like Arizona could use him in the backfield. I mean, I think that would be a perfect fit for a team that's been trying to plug. They have Adrian Peterson right now, who's 35 years old. So I think this would be a real improvement for them to have that kind of dual threat out the backfield.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of as soon as it was brought up for a halfback needy team. Honestly, I play Bengals twice a year. I don't know if I've ever seen Giovanni Bernard less than 200 yards in 3 years. We have 4 years of time, but only 3 years of stats to look at. Less than 200 yards and only 2 touchdowns in 3 years. The guy is just an unbelievable talent and went to complete waste on the depth chart of the Cincinnati Bengals. And there's no reason to re-sign him. Let him go, and he will really make an offense somewhere else in the NBL.
All right, and we also got free safety Eric Berry from the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs, they had a average year. I mean, didn't really stick out. They were 6-8 in a division that's usually tough, but I mean, they were alive for the most part. Eric Berry's 30 years old, still has plenty of athleticism left, some ability left, definitely. But he's having a down year. 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 1 touchdown. I mean, last year he had double production in every one of those stats. So I see a decline in a system that's really not meant for him. Plus, they're paying him $10 million, $11 million a year. It's going to go up next year. The cap penalty to cut him is going to be about $1.5 million. This is strictly a financial save for Kansas City. I think you can find those young safeties in the draft and develop your own at a much cheaper rate and allow Eric Berry to go to a team that's looking to compete and that needs a stronger secondary. I mean, I look at teams in the NFC that are looking to boast their secondary because there's such a great offensive attack over there. I mean, I look at teams like the Washington Redskins, a team that could definitely use him. Even some teams in the AFC potentially could bring him in. I mean, Houston Texans have been really pathetic against the pass this year. Could use a player as smart as Eric Berry that could come in and bring that veteran leadership for a playoff team. And I think at 30 years old, going to be 31, he's wasting away in Kansas City as well, and his production's down. So it just makes financial sense for them to let him go, Lipp.
Yeah, I think that he did what he was intended to do this season. They have two rookies that they really like. They've got Hatchett and Deshaun Black playing safety for them right now. I believe they both got the starts a week or two ago. So Eric Berry, as kind of that leader, that teacher, has kind of filled that purpose, and now it is time to let him go because they have two rookies that they really like, and it's going to be exciting to watch them two grow. It's sad to see Eric Berry leave Kansas City, but he will be a star and a leader for a great defense somewhere else in the NBL for sure.
All right, moving along. Let's speed this up a little quicker. Right end Robert Quinn, St. Louis, Los Angeles Rams. I keep doing that. Los Angeles Rams, Robert Quinn. I think he's got to go because this team had such a poor down season. They really can't afford to be that tight in the salary anymore because they're gonna lose their quarterback. Their defense is not going to be able to, you have to have some type of an offense, right? You brought in Levante David and you paid him crazy, right? It didn't work out. Somebody's got to go now. You can't cut him. His cap penalty's too high. But I think you can let go of Robert Quinn, and I think he will. He's got a year left. He might be another that just gets released. But I think this guy, definitely should get released at the end of the season. He's 29 years old, going to be 30. Same thing with Levante David's going to be 30. I think they're kind of hitting on the end of that, and they need to bring some youth in around Aaron Donald. I love Robert Quinn. I think he has a lot left. I think he has 3 or 4 years left, but I don't think it's a good fit for him on the Rams.
Yeah, I think we've all heard of Robert Quinn for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's a big name, but you never see that big production. So he's not producing anymore. You need help on other areas. The defense just isn't doing things like it used to. It's time to let Robert Quinn go.
Yeah, he's got to go. It's over. Cut him right now. I'll let him come to the Lions. Oh, there was insight to that. See, I needed him on my team to play defensive line. No, actually, I don't need him, but I think he could be I think he could be impactful. I was doing my best Sonny Weaver impression there, but I think he could be impactful on somebody else's D line and maybe even the Bengals. Man, they lost Geno Atkins. I could see them bringing him in. I think that would be a great fit to add some depth to what they already have as far as star potential to get to the quarterback. Man, and I think that could put them over. Potentially on their defensive line that was so strong. That was their focal point of their defense when the Madden season began. So moving on to the next one, we're going to move on to the next cut list. And at the top of that list, we got Jordan Matthews, spelled incorrectly. Shout out to CMF for that. It's 2 T's, please. Jordan Matthews is gone simply because, even though he was their leading receiver this year, but that was only because Lavari Samuel got hurt. 51 catches, 772 yards. And he had 7 touchdowns. He actually had his best output from being a Philadelphia Eagle since this cycle began. But here's what I'm saying. You got Lavari Samuel now. You're looking at taking another wide receiver in the draft. It's time to let him go. He's 27 years old. He's at the point of his career where he's going to start regress. He's going to start losing his athletic ability. And he wasn't a number 2B. I think he lacks a lot of a real special ability, and I think you can find someone cheaper, better, and probably that fits your scheme a little bit more. And I think having guys like Jordan Matthews paired up with Dorial Green Beckham is kind of like counterproductive, especially when you have Lavari Samuel there. I think they could get a more explosive person surrounding Dorial Green Beckham. So what do you think about cutting Jordan Matthews for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, I think this team needs help on offense. They've historically been a great defensive team. If you look at this draft coming up, there is a ton of talent at wide receiver. You got really high first-end talent. You've got good back-end talent. You've got good talent in the middle rounds. So I think that if they need a wide receiver, they could let this guy go, get some other helpful pieces, some depth pieces with that cap space in free agency, and then in the draft, maybe take 2 an early guy, a stud, and then another guy later in the draft to fill that wide receiver need. And I think that'll make that offense, it'll give it that boost that it needs to make this team complete.
And the next guy on the list is T.Y. Hilton, Indianapolis Colts. This is a guy who has been hurt every season since MBL season 19. Lipp, I think we have a video on him, Lipp. Give the audience a little insight of what they're about to see.
Well, what you're about to see in this clip is just the typical T.Y. Hilton. If you watch him play, he's going to go down the field. He's going to put himself in positions to make catches. But the important thing is he's going to get hurt. And that's what he's done every season for 4 seasons. If you look 3 seasons ago, he only had just over 600 yards. This year, he's only about 800. He's never gone over 4 touchdowns. And you're going to see exactly who T.Y. Hilton is in this clip as he goes down the field, puts himself in position to catch the ball, but just takes a lick and gets hurt and cannot stay healthy.
He tends to hold it longer than most quarterbacks. He's very good at running, but just like Ben had to adapt, I think you're going to see Andrew Luck do the same.
Here comes the pressure from William Gay, got rid of it. Hilton holds on with a big hit inside the 5, and both he and Mike Mitchell need medical assistance.
It really is. They come with the blitz, and then Lawrence Timmons going to chase him down the middle of the field. Mike Mitchell's going to hit him. A legal hit. Everything about that is legal. It's just tough football. I mean, that is a shot. And you see Hilton land hard, bang his head. Mike Mitchell took a shot as well. And somehow T.Y. Hilton held on to that ball. That's a gutsy catch. He knew he was going to take it. He's not a big guy. And it was nice to see Mike Mitchell in a very classy move come back out and check on T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, and Mitchell was shaken up too. That's respect.
I mean, over the middle, that was a tough hit, man. I'm watching that over and over, and I'm thinking, man, I applauded his determination to go over the middle, but I mean, that was a couple seasons ago. I believe that was MBL season 20. This footage is from when you had Timmons back there, and man, that was a man, that was a hit right there. And you know what the issue is here with T.Y. Hilton is he just keeps getting hurt, and there's really no reason to keep him on your team. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to end up cutting him, and he's going to end up going to another team and being healthy and having 2 or 3 productive seasons, unless the Raiders take him, because the Raiders like to take those guys. They took John Brown. Unless the Raiders take him, he'll continue the same path, but I could see him going somewhere else and being very productive for a team. He's going to be 30 next year in MBL season 23, so very interesting to see where he's going to go. Moving along, defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh. He's just wasting away in Miami. They got to get him out of there. They're going young. They got a big youth movement over there. There's no reason to keep him around. They brought in Vic Beasley Jr. last year, and they're paying him $10 million. He's 27 years old. You can't really afford a guy like Suh right now, especially when you're not winning. Currently 3-11, so I'm just going to leave that at that. Moving along, wide receiver Antonio Brown. Now, Lipp, I'm not going to ask you to comment on this one either, but Antonio Brown's got to go. You got Caleb Hayden. Antonio Brown, I understand he's the guy over there, and he's got a crazy cap penalty, and it might not be able to happen this year, but we got to find a way to make it work. 31 years old, and he's having arguably his worst season as a Pittsburgh Steelers since MBL season 19, and we see the rookie draft pick Caleb Hayden starting to just completely show out. Hayden was the 31st pick in MBL season 22 rookie draft. This guy has all the ability, a little bit shorter than Antonio Brown, but he's a little bit stockier. I like what he can do, and his rack ability has just been completely insane this season. He's really came on as of late, and I think it's time to let Antonio Brown go in Pittsburgh. That's my thoughts. Guys in the chat, what do you think about letting Antonio Brown go for Pittsburgh? I know Sonny's probably going to like it, in those Cincinnati Bengals, always looking to get an advantage.
It'll hurt my heart. It'll break my heart. But
it'll break your heart, but it's a business decision. And I think it's just time. I think it's just time that Antonio Brown hits the market and he gets what his value's worth. And sadly, he'll probably end up on the Dolphins, and he'll probably waste away there, but he'll be getting paid some money. All right, moving on to the next players who should be cut. This quarterback says Seattle Seahawks, but it is actually the New England Patriots. Cornerback Malcolm Butler. That's going to be my 9th guy that I feel should be cut this offseason. Malcolm Butler's for the Patriots. I think he has a little bit left in the tank, and I think he's still a decent and good cornerback in the league. And I just think with the Patriots, how bad they were against the pass this year, how bad they were giving up 21 points a game, 24th in the league. They were 18th in passing. I think it's just time. I think it's time for Malcolm Butler to go. He has 0 interceptions this year. And this is a cornerback that has that ability that is just, he's making $10 million this year for 0 interceptions. Man, you just can't have a guy on your team like that. And it's time to let him go. He's had 2 seasons on New England since MBL season 20, I believe he came on. And he had 2 his first year, then 5. So he's been pretty much a complete bust since they brought him in to play next to Logan Ryan. He's definitely got to go, Lipp. I don't see Malcolm Butler working in this system, and they're not winning right now. So they can't pay somebody $10 million to sit on to start at cornerback outside and get you 0 interceptions. He's got to make those splash plays.
Yeah, the Patriots are going to have a higher pick in this year's draft, so I see their ability to take a quarterback in the first, or maybe even trade back, because there's a lot of quarterbacks. They could grab a quarterback whenever, and then maybe trade back and use some of that to get themselves a nice stud replacement cornerback, because this guy's just not cutting it. You can't have a guy taking up $10 million in cap, and he's going to give you 0 turnovers. It's just not working out. Maybe it will somewhere else, but I think Malcolm Butler's time in New England is over.
And a lot of these guys are 29 years old. And I promise, I looked at age, but I really was looking at production and what just made sense for the direction of the team moving forward. The 9-6 Chicago Bears, they got to get rid of Alshon Jeffrey because he's 29 years old. He's having his worst yards output since being a Chicago Bear this cycle, since MBL season 19. And his touchdown production, season 24, season 21, 3, season 22, 2. So 2 touchdowns for Alshon Jeffrey this year. That just does not justify $13 million salary. They're going to have to let him go. It's going to be a cap penalty of about 2.5. So I think this is actually a really smart save for Chicago. His salary is going to be up to about $16 million. He's going to be able to save about $2-3 million on that, so he's probably going to save like $13 million in cap space with him, and I think they can go fill some holes there and get the Chicago Draco defense back to where it was. And I think Ndamukong Suh would be a great pickup for the Bears, and I think they could spend money more on defensive line and linebackers as opposed to wide receiver, which they've really been struggling since they drafted Max Bragg and signed Matt Ryan.
Yeah, like I said earlier, this is a pretty decent draft as far as wide receivers go. And this isn't just like a quarterback issue, one season. This is who Alshon Jeffrey is. 53 receptions, 55, 51, all about 900 yards, and never beyond 4 touchdowns. You don't need to be putting your money there. You can find guys on the cheap to fill that role. And this team's not a heavy passing team. Run the ball, play defense, get guys in the draft to play that wide receiver role, and they'll be fine. They cannot keep Alshon Jeffrey moving forward.
And moving along is the 0-15 Jawar Woodard, who I just got a message from their owner saying there's no way that they let this guy go. They would cut a wide receiver, one of their elite wide receivers, Finley, before they would cut Jawar Woodard. But, man, the stats are there. 41 interceptions season 20 as a rookie, 44 season 21 as a sophomore. As a junior, his QBR has dropped the season he's played. This is a guy struggling in this system, and something needs to change. To me, I put him on here because either they need to move on from him and find a quarterback that better suits what they're trying to do as a power run team in San Francisco, or because they're 12th in passing yards, but they're not having efficiency passing. They're 29th in rushing. They need to shore up their offensive line and get more of a power run game going, and I just don't think that Jawar Woodard is the answer over there just based upon production. But I think in the right situation, this guy could be a top 10 quarterback in the NBL. So I'm hoping for the rest of the league that they decide to part ways with him because I think it would be better for them and also better for the player. Lipp, any thoughts on cutting Jawar Woodard, who's only 25 years old right now?
I think it's tough for a young guy to go into that situation. There was not extremely good management very, very early on. I'm talking 4 seasons ago. And even at that point, there wasn't a whole lot on that roster to start with. So to put that all on a young guy, it's tough. I think you're going to see some decent veterans in this free agency. So instead of giving this guy a big deal or keeping him on a big deal, I would go out and try to find somebody who can play quarterback for a season or two until you can really get some good talent and start to see productive things happen on the field.
Yeah, I like to see productivity increase. Maybe you hit a rookie wall, maybe a sophomore slump, but this junior year, this third year in the NBL, I expect to see a lot from him. 50% completion and a 55.4 QBR is what he's going to finish the season with, 2,500 yards, 40 interceptions, 14 touchdowns. This is not production that I want to see from my quarterback, and I think maybe this is a little b'it of a Jamarcus Russell, 6'6", 225, cannon for an arm. It just hasn't panned out in San Francisco. Moving along, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm saying cut Mike Evans right meow. It's time. NBL season 23, I expect him to be a free agent. He hasn't lived up to the productivity that he was supposed to do as an elite wide receiver. and he's having one of his worst years in Tampa. The last 2 seasons, he's had 39 catches, 575, 1 touchdown. That was season 21. NBL season 22, 32 catches, 625 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's a combined 4 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, and 70 catches in 2 seasons. This is what he should be doing in 1 season. This guy just got goose-egged against the Indianapolis Colts, had 0 receptions, 0 yards, and a drop. He is not engaged on the field in Tampa. They must let him go, and I promise you, we'll be back, in 2 weeks, Lipp, from now? So in 2 weeks from now, which will be the 25th of March, the 24th, 25th of March, we'll be back on the network. And I promise you, I'm going to have a whole segment on Mike Evans and the destruction of this guy at 26 years old. There's something going on off the field with this guy that is causing his production to drop because their system is not that bad. He's not engaged. Him and Winston are not on the same page. Now, Lipp, I want to know if he becomes a free agent, is this a guy like the Pittsburgh Steelers will be looking to take a chance on? Given his past productivity, it has been very poor. So the question is this somebody that fits on a good team with an attitude that he has been having on Tampa Bay this far?
I think that you're going to see a lot of different options. I mean, look, we saw a very good AJ Green go to the Panthers and have a productive season. And the thing is, there's a lot of talent that's going to be out there because you can get talent out of guys just like Mike Evans. But the thing is, if they're not willing to buy in and be part of the system and want to be there and support your quarterback in the good times and the bad and just be a leader at his age, I don't know if it's going to fit on a winning team. Some teams are going to pay him a lot of money because they're going to like his size. They're going to like that he is Mike Evans, but he is a very high risk of being overpaid, which is great for him. But I would be very cautious for a lot of the owners in MBL.
And another storyline coming out of Tampa, you have Jameis Winston, who was benched week 16 when Tampa took on the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. He was 2 for 7, 0 touchdowns, 3 sacks, 0 interceptions, QBR of 4, and they lost really badly, as they've been doing. And Jameis Winston was benched, and he's 25 years old. So I could see them moving away from both of these guys, starting fresh, getting a new group in there, and building some chemistry from the top down. I really like their halfback. They have, Sean, I call him Sean Gwynn, 6 touchdowns this year, 671 yards. 4.5 yards per carry. This is a rookie that has a lot of potential. I just don't want him to get involved in all this drama and all this chemistry issues between Winston and Evans. And I want them to start fresh. I want to see Tampa Bay start fresh. I think 4-11 was very disappointing for a team that easily should have been 8-8. Now we're going to move on. You're interested in joining the MBL? Well, here's a reason why you should. We're going to check out the MBL promo. Gibbs is about to get it pulled up. That's right. We got Gibbs back pulling the strings behind the scenes, and we're going to watch this MBL promo. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to us, and follow us on Twitter at Bomber League. Now check out this promo right now. All right, guys, we are back. It's the Commissioner Corner podcast. It's March 11th, episode number 14 on the show. And this is our live show, and we're at the rookie redraft. So it's NBL season 22. We're in week 16. We're towards the end of the season. We're going to redraft these top 10 picks. Lipp's got his redraft. Lipp, you did some time studying, looking for new things that teams could potentially have needed. Maybe they reached. And if they could do it over, this is where you see them going. So give us a little insight. We're going to start at number 10. It's the Cleveland Browns. They have the pick. Who would you have them selecting if the draft was being redrafted today?
Well, you look at the Cleveland Browns, the thing that I don't like is that I don't like McCann's ability to go and get the ball. He doesn't have a whole lot of interceptions. He can lock down a guy, but is not going to generate the turnovers. So him going at fourth like he did, just did not like. You look at the Browns roster, Joe Hayden, Buster Screen. Buster Screen's hurt right now, and then nobody other than those two, and they're both the age of 30. So I think McCann would fall if we were redoing this. McCann would fall, and he would be great at number 10 to be a good number one corner for the Cleveland Browns. I think that is something that the Browns should have got in this draft, that they had 4 picks, but they did not. And I think that McCann at number 10 would have been very good for them.
I would have liked that pair next to Joe Hayden. All right, at number 9, the Indianapolis Colts, you have them taking Whitlock, wide receiver, who went to the Broncos. Give us your thoughts on that. I mean, I would say it's probably due to the injuries that the Colts have been sustaining. A big wide receiver like Whitlock potentially could help them.
Yeah, Whitlock was good, but he just doesn't seem to be that good to me for going as high as he did. Right now, he's only has 700 yards, and he's not in a spectacular passing offense. So there is a lot that's not his fault. But I would have loved to see him fall and go to the Colts. If we already talked about T.Y. Hilton and his injuries, Dante Moncrief is the number one guy whenever T.Y. is out, and then Philip Dorsett it would be their third if everybody's healthy, but even now, Philip Dorsett's not healthy. So after those 3, you don't really have anybody. They need a true number one. Whitlock would have been a great number one for them, and Andrew Luck just isn't really fitting in that well right now in Denver.
All right, and at number 8, we have the Baltimore Ravens. You have them selecting quarterback Kevin Womack, who went to the Dallas Cowboys from the University of Wisconsin, having a pretty productive year, QBR of 99.3, 20 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Very solid rookie season, 2,600 yards for this young 24-year-old from the University of Wisconsin, 6'5". What do you think about that? Why would you think the Ravens would want to go with them when they're having so much success with Alan Paradise right now?
Yeah, I think that Paradise is kind of a guy that I think that he's just filling that gap right now. They're desperately waiting for Joe Flacco to die. They just want him to get out of there, get that contract gone. Alan Paradis is not having that bad of a year. He's got 36 touchdowns, 26 interceptions. Interceptions are high, but we all know that the Cowboys did not need a quarterback. They did not need that guy at all. There was no reason to take him. So I think that if we're doing this over, that quarterback would fall, and the Ravens would have loved to have him. Let him sit behind Flacco for a little bit, then let him start, and it would have been a great transition there in Baltimore.
All right, number 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have them taking Powell, middle linebacker. The current team that Powell's on is Cleveland Browns. Why do you have Jacksonville going with the middle linebacker at 7?
I love Powell. He can do it all. I mean, he is so good in pass coverage and run stopping. I just think that this guy is such a supreme talent, and the Jacksonville Jaguars need a middle linebacker right now. They have Scooby right third, and he's 25, and he's doing okay. They have another guy, Rayshawn Dinkins. Those guys it's just not coming together. Their defense is not completely solid. I like Powell so much that I think he could have really brought this defense together with Jalen Ramsey and Demarius Randall. I think that would have made it a solid defense, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal leader in a few years. So I think that the Jags should have gone with him if we were doing this all over again.
All right, at number 6, the Dallas Cowboys. You have them taking left outside linebacker Rankert, who's been a stud sack-wise for the Indianapolis Colts, who run that vaunted 3-4 defense over there. Why would the Dallas Cowboys go with this when they went with quarterback? Now you have them going outside linebacker. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, like I said, the Cowboys did not need that quarterback. They could have stuck with Dak and been just fine. The offense is set. Maybe some help at wide receiver since they let Dez go. But Reichard is doing something that we don't see a whole lot. He's an outside linebacker just killing it in sacks right now. Right now he's second in the league in sacks, just behind Barry Newell, another rookie from the Falcons. I like the guys that are on the Cowboys outside linebacker squad right now, but I just don't see any of them developing into stars. Wyatt Purcell and Denton McDermott could be good guys to fill that position. The other side, Travis Freeney, I think he's past his prime, just not a guy that you want there forever. So I think if they go with Renkart, they have an insane pass rusher that can be there for years, and that's really where they could have gone.
And at number 5, you got the Arizona Cardinals taking cornerback Iwabima. Now, this is a big deal because, Cincinnati loves this guy, man. This is their guy. This is their cornerback. They say he's the lockdown corner. He's going to lock down Hayden one day eventually, I believe, is how the story goes. So at number 5, Arizona going with Iwabima to pair him next to Patrick Peterson, and then they got the safety, the Honey Badger. So you think this would have just made them one of the elite secondaries in the NBL?
Oh, yeah, they have a very good secondary as it is. Their safeties are very good, as you know, Tyrann Mathieu and Samuel Rudd, who I also believe is a rookie, very young guy. But you have Patrick Peterson, and then after that, Sheldon White is very good, just not quite there yet. And then Mike Ransom, not a very elite corner, but you go and you get Iwabima, who is an elite corner, and you pair him with Patrick Peterson, and then you have that great back-end talent behind you. It would be phenomenal. Probably the best secondary in NBL right now.
So at number 4, you got the Falcons taking a player that they actually took, Newell. I think they took him a little bit later than 4, I believe.
Yeah, they actually drafted Newell at 11, and as I talked about, he is killing it with 12 sacks right now.
Yeah,
just
he's one
dominating.
of the better. Yeah.
And I like that they picked that guy because if they signed Randy Gregory for the other side, but they had nobody to fill the side that Baron Newell's on right now. So I think they nailed it with taking this guy. He's such a phenomenal talent that he should have been taken earlier, and the Falcons did exactly what they needed to do by taking him. He just goes a little earlier here in this redraft.
And I want to tell the audience right now, everybody in the chat, this is the irony of this whole redraft, Lipp's redraft. The situation right now is very crystal clear that the Atlanta Falcons made the biggest mistake in the draft, but they also drafted a guy that they should have drafted, and if they could redraft, they'd take him earlier, as we're going to get to number 1 shortly. But they made a big mistake at number 1 in the draft. We're going to get to that. The hype is real. At number 3, you have the Broncos taking Hayden. That's a receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, a smaller receiver. I think they were looking to replace Demaryius Thomas, and I think when they went ahead and brought in Dez Bryant, that probably could have opened up the door for Hayden, I think. And they decided to go ahead and stay with the wide receiver they drafted, which was Tavon Whitlock, a bigger wide receiver, 6'1", I believe. So you saying they could go with the 5'8" Hayden at number 3 just because he has that Antonio Brown ability?
Yeah, I think whenever you went out and you got Dez Bryant, you got that big guy that can go up, make catches. You're not really looking for his run-after-catch ability. And it seems that with Whitlock, you're not getting that run-after-catch ability either. He's a faster guy, a little taller, stands at 6'1", but Hayden has almost 800 yards of run-after-catch yardage this year. And that's the kind of guy that you need to pair with Dez Bryant. If you'd have known that going into this draft, if they would have taken Caleb Hayden, they would be an unstoppable offense because you can just give this ball to the guy and let him go, and then you've got to worry about Dez Bryant over the top who can go up and just take the ball away from defensive backs. It would have been a killer number 1 and 2 pairing for the Broncos.
Yeah, I agree. At number 2, you got the Minnesota Vikings. They kind of get, how do I put this? This would really suck for Minnesota if Falcons win Hackett 1. I mean, even though I like Dillard Lloyd, but Hackett is a once-in-a-generation player, obviously. So you got him going Dillard Lloyd, who was drafted by the Ravens a lot later and has turned into, arguably the second-best wide receiver in this draft.
Yeah, the thing is, Dillard Lloyd was just, I believe he was taken in the 3rd round, and he is just dominating all of the rookies as well as all of the receivers in NBL right now. And this is a guy that a lot of people missed on as far as talent, and he ended up falling to the Ravens and is a complete star. Now, in this redraft, obviously the Falcons are going to go Hackett, but once Hackett's gone, you want to take Lloyd because he has 1,500 yards receiving, 16 touchdowns, gets the ball inside the 5 and can take it the whole way to the house. And this is just a guy that a lot of people didn't look at, a lot of people missed, did not think he was worth a 1st or 2nd round grade. Ravens took him in the 3rd round, and he is an absolute star.
And at number 1, you have the Atlanta Falcons going wide receiver. They went wide receiver. Where did they go wrong? Who did they select? So for those who didn't make the NBL season 22 rookie draft, the Falcons had the number 1 pick, the number 4 pick. They had everybody's pick this year. Their own pick was 11. They really loaded up on picks, and they got some pretty good talent. But now they're stuck with an injured wide receiver who isn't even mentioned on your top 10. So who was that wide receiver that they selected? Tell us a little bit about him before we get into Trey Hackett.
Well, the Falcons went with Jawara Suggs, and I'm not sure. The story goes that There was some issues with somebody not showing up to the draft, and the Falcons thought that meant he was really good. Ended up taking Suggs, and he's good, but just really slow off the line of scrimmage. And the biggest thing about the guy, he can't stay healthy. He's been hurt twice this year. And if you look at the numbers, if you just compare Dillard Lloyd to Jawara Suggs, Lloyd has 1,500 yards and Suggs has 500. Suggs has 2 touchdowns and Lloyd has 16. It's just the production is crazy between these guys simply because Suggs cannot stay healthy. And if you think about the situation, you've got Julio Jones getting double teamed. And this guy should have all day to be a star, and he just cannot stay healthy. And that is a horrible thing to happen to the #1 pick for the Atlanta Falcons.
Just imagine Hackett 6'6" next to Julio Jones 6'4". I mean, that is just a deadly combination of wide receivers. Maybe the best dynamic duo to ever be in the NBL that could have been. This is potentially a 30 for 30 that could have been a possible dynasty in Atlanta. I think Julio still has 3 to 4 years left in him. And, man, this would have been just tough on the league. And this would have been tough, on the NFC South. I mean, I think this would have really just took Atlanta and put them at that next level offensively.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at Trey Hackett, I don't know how they missed on this guy. This guy was running 4.2 40s, and at 6'6", the guy is just unbelievably fast and strong, big. And you look at him from Texas A&M, 6'6". Who's that remind you of? Mike Evans. And this guy is just so much faster, doing good things, 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns in an offense that is struggling with their quarterback. But once they get their quarterback situation figured out, Teddy stays healthy, Trey Hackett is going to be an absolute monster, dominant, Calvin Johnson-like wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings.
I just got to hope he doesn't retire in the prime of his career because that could really hurt a franchise. All right, moving on. We got MBL Live tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I stand correct. We got the Titans versus the Jets. Make sure y'all check that out. It's going to be on the MBL Network, and we're going to get the title right. I know the title right now that y'all are watching says something other than the podcast. That's on me. My mistake. I didn't get the chance to change that. I actually just slipped my mind, and it's been bugging me this whole show. So if you see Season 22 Titans versus Jets Week 16, that's actually for the game tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right. We're going to have MBL Live. I think we got Sonny on the call, OSU on the call, and Gibbs behind the scenes pulling the strings. So it should be a really, really good show game. The Jets need. Both teams are 9-5 right now, looking to win their division. Jets have already won their division. Titans looking to pull away and officially clinch their division. What are your thoughts on that game going in tomorrow?
I'm going to make a bold prediction. All right. This is a possible playoff preview. You're looking at the Titans coming in. They're both fighting for that #2 seed. This game's going to be close in determining it. Depends on what happens with these conference records here, these last 2 games. But I'm going to say that the Jets put up 35 points on these Titans, and the Jets will win 35-20 over the Titans. I'm calling it right now, and that's going to be the score.
And that's a lot of faith in the Jets team that just got mopped by the NFC right now. I think they played the Dallas Cowboys last week and lost 30-7. So interesting to see if Delvar can bounce back. I mean, he really is good on bounce back games. So this could be really interesting down the stretch, as you said, potential playoff team. As you look at that AFC South, you got the Titans, the Jaguars, the Texans. Titans are at 9-5. They lose this game, they open the door, that back door for the Jaguars or Texans to come in there and potentially steal that division if they lose the last 2 and those teams win their last game. They've both played already, so they're both 8-7. So some wild card stuff going on in the AFC. But it looks like we're time for the MBL Crossfire segment. This is where you ask the questions and we respond to them and give our ideas and our thoughts on what's going on around the league. I believe the first question we got up, a Deca Dog is asking picks for division champ in the AFC West. Lipp, I'll let you take that one. You better answer quickly, man, because next time he's on the show, he won't forget. He might have to give you a little bit of a thrashing.
Are we going with the AFC West here?
The AFC West picks for division champ. It's a dog fight over there. No Mike Vick pun intended, but AFC West is 7-7, 6-8, 6-8. And even if there was more games to be played, that 5-9 could backdoor them. It's also close top to bottom.
Yeah.
Where do you see it going?
I think that Chargers are probably out. I don't see I don't see 9 losses getting in there. Yeah. I love what the Chiefs are doing. They're doing a really good job. Like we talked about earlier, they're building young talent. I think next year they're going to be a really good team. I would even say that they might win the division next year. I'm too worried about the Broncos, their inefficiency on offense, but I would really keep my eye on these Raiders. Like I talked about, they are a back end team. Second half of the season, they can light it up, and they've got 2 games left. I think that the Raiders can actually pull this out. I'm pretty nervous saying that. I don't want to. They've got the very tough Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts remaining on their schedule. So it's all about this Chiefs game, I think. And if they do that, I think that the Raiders can actually win the AFC West and make the AFC playoffs this year.
So they're going to do it again. You think they're going to come back from a really slow start and just find their way back, grind it out, and make the playoffs again? I'm not so sure of it. I'm still #Team Porter, #Fifth Order. I think the Broncos are going to find a way because I think the Raiders will step on their own foot here, and I think maybe the Chiefs win this week. That's really what it's going to come down to. The winner of the Chiefs-Raiders game this week is the one that's going to be competing for that division. But you also got to look on the back end at the 8-7 part. If they win out and go 8-8, Texans could lose next week, go 8-8, and then you have the Jaguars at 8-7. That could be 8-8. I mean, we could see an 8-8 team making the playoffs in the AFC, which is really the crazy thing because I look over on the other end. I mean, there's 4 lost teams in the wild card in the NFC right now, and then you got an 8-loss team making the playoffs in the AFC. So crazy things going on in the MBL right now. Let's move along.
Working on it.
Let's move along. We got NFC South, AFC West, NFC East going down the wire. Who's winning those divisions? Asked by OSU. So the three divisions that haven't been decided yet: NFC South, AFC West. We already did AFC West, so we're not going to answer that one. NFC South. Let's start with that one. We're going to look at the NFC South right now. Bananas won that division last year, but the Saints obviously collapsed. You got the Panthers, Falcons. Oh man, that's so tough for me, man. But I'm going to have to go with the Panthers. Because I think they beat the Falcons earlier this year. Let's go ahead and check.
Both
Twice.
times.
Yeah, they mopped them up. So 11-4, that gives my edge to the Panthers. Any disputing that, Lipp?
I look here at their remaining games. The Falcons have the Rams, and the Panthers have the 49ers. Deca, don't put me on Deca's corner, but I think that with the 2 wins over the Falcons that the Panthers already have, I think it's going to be tough for them to lose that division right now. I think that with those 2 wins, I think they have their division locked up. They just have to win this week, and it's all on their plate, and I think that they win and they will win the division.
Yeah, that's pretty much a fact. If they win and they go 12-4, they win their division because they got the tiebreaker on the Atlanta Falcons. Now the NFC East, in the chat, Deca said Skins caught an L today. They sure did, man. Kind of an upset going on. I wish I would have known. I would have put that game and had a graphic for that game as a recap. Very interesting game that went down. The Packers somehow defeated the Washington Redskins, and the Packers have been struggling all year. So Week 16, they're changing the course of this playoffs, and they put the Redskins a game behind Cowboys right now. And it doesn't look like Gub might lose the division right now.
Yeah, I think that we've seen these Cowboys play well all year. I think they deserve to be the division champion, and I think they'll finish out this season 13-3 and take the NFC East.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys win it hands down. That game, that really hurts them. That's a slip-up game. You got to be better than that. I think we have a couple more questions in the chat right now. We'll take a couple more right now if y'all got them. Right now, we also have bounce-back teams for Season 23, asked by N-Train. Bounce-back teams. I'm going with the Rams because that's a shoo-in. If you don't know Jay Moon by now, but he's an up-and-down player. He plays good one year, gets a tough schedule the next year, falls off, comes back, falls off. So that's why the back-to-back division champ for the NFC West for Season 21 and 20 for the Rams was a little surprising and confusing to me. I thought maybe he got over that hump, but now he's at 5-9. So back to the same old thing. I expect him to go, 11-5 next year. Excuse me, maybe 10-6. For the Los Angeles Rams, I expect him to win that division. Bounce-back teams for next year, maybe the Saints, but, man, they dug themselves such a hole financially, Lipp. I don't know if they'll be able to overcome that.
Yeah, we called it 7-9. They're well on their way, but I do think that they will be able to figure out some things in this next offseason. I don't know. The money is going to be the deciding factor. If they can even bring in some help and try to get rid of those guys that they gave horrible contracts to. I don't know what's going to go on the financial side, but I do think that the Saints are going to be able to come out and go 11-5 next year. That'll be the team that will get it together. They'll turn it around.
So
I think they will find a way.
their personnel's not going to change much.
No, but
I can't.
think,
they financially have no room.
I think that they will
They're gonna
find better
scheme up.
depth players because there's going to be depth out there, and it's not it's not going to be extremely expensive. They went the complete opposite way this last offseason, and it killed them. But they
went
year,
for youth athleticism and all that kind of stuff, and they overpaid for it.
You've said 100 times. You've learned your lesson. 11-5. Lock it in. I want to know if you really learned your lesson or not.
I don't see it. I can't see it, Lipp, because he spends so much money. These contracts are only going up, and I know what you're saying, but what veteran wants to come play for a team that's in just such disarray that basically pumped all their money into athleticism? Tyler Lockett, I mean, just look at his contract. If I'm a wide receiver, and let's say I'm a veteran wide receiver who can still produce like Dez Bryant was, I would never even consider going to a team that paid Tyler Lockett $20 million. How's that even possible? Why would I want to go there and take less for a guy that's going to be less productive than me that's going to make 4 times what I'm making? But I think that's where they're going to run into issues. I like Le'Veon Austin. Obviously, he's a reigning MVP, and you have to respect that NBL Season 21. I mean, that's the best option right now. I mean, I think, and they don't need a quarterback. They love their quarterback. Yeah. They think their quarterback is going to be the future of this team, and I watched him make a lot of poor throws this year, but, Dronette is a solid player. He was a 12th pick in the first round in MBL Season 20, so, you got a guy that is growing, but he had a fall off. His sophomore season, he was a 115 QBR. This year, he's 92, 18 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. Last year, he was 19-7. Health has been a concern for him as well, and I just think he's just a little off for me. 6'6", 235, throw power through the roof. He's one of those quarterbacks, but he just gets a little erratic sometimes. And I think with receivers like Lockett and then Brandon Cooks, you have to be on the money with these guys, really get the use out of them because they're not big targets.
Let me just give one tip to the Saints, and then we can move on. Bananas, New Orleans Saints, do not put your 16th overall pick guard on practice squad. And that'll be a good first step into going to 11-5 next year.
Another lost in the paperwork. Nobody took the blame on that one either. That was just something that they said was a mistake. He went to the practice squad. For those that don't know the story, their 16th overall pick, and I believe the Cincinnati Bengals came in there and said, "Oh, this guy's on the practice squad. We're interested in him. Is he cleared? Is his paperwork good?" It was good, and they scooped him up. Just lost a first round selection, and that's just been like. They have to clean those things up. You've heard of penalties on the field. Well, that's a penalty off the field in my book. And that's one of those things that ownership is going to have to clean up. As we're pumping into an hour on the show, we just passed an hour, Lipp. So we got to wrap this up sometime soon before we see the moon. So one last thing I wanted to talk about. Let's see if I can get to it, if I can remember what I was going to say. I wanted to talk about the lack of depth in the AFC East. Is there a team out there that you feel, with the Buffalo Bills really going down, I think it really exploited the AFC in general. I think it made the AFC, lose a guy that was winning 10 games a season. With him dropping down to what he did, and then the AFC West we got 7 wins in the AFC West. This was a division that was had 3 teams winning close to 10. What is going on in the AFC, and why do you think it became such a lopsided MBL right now? The Madden Bomber League is obviously lopsided. The NFC, let me read off the playoff picture right now. 14-1. Let me just do this. I know we're over an hour. 14-1, 12-3, 10-5, 11-4, 11-4, 11-4. Those are the top 6 in the NFC, right? Let's go to the AFC. 14-1. That's the Steelers. We consider in the NFC, we call him the NFC team because he's an outlier. Then we go 14-1. Then we go 9-5, 9-5, 7-7, 9-6, 8-7. There's only one team with double-digit wins, and that's the Steelers. NFC, everybody in the playoff picture got double-digit wins. What is going on in the AFC, and how can you see this conference rebuild their franchises to compete better with these NFC teams?
It's a common theme in all of these teams, and it's very easy to see if we go down through it. New York Jets. Quarterback playing good, little questionable, which is why they're only at 9-5, but he's still growing, so they'll get it together. Buffalo Bills, we talked about them. won't commit to a quarterback.
It's quarterback. I'm looking at it now, and it's quarterback. And that's why the Jags are playing so well.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
They bring in Brock Osweiler. Yeah, that's a name kind of, but not playing great. I think around 40 interceptions this year. Patriots, we know the story of the quarterback. Tony Romo's in 1 week, Drennett's in 1 week, some other guy, all over the place. Bengals, Andy Dalton, turnover machine. Cleveland Browns, great year. Ravens, great year. But then you move down. We're going to skip the AFC South because they're all doing pretty well. But we go to that division that's the AFC West. Most wins is 7-7 right now. Broncos. Paxton Lynch can't put it together. Oakland Raiders, Carr overrated. Kansas City Chiefs, Trey McIntyre, that story. And San Diego Chargers, they just cannot find a guy to take them away from to transition away from Phillip Rivers. They had a guy a couple seasons ago, AJ Stanton, still playing there, just not playing well. It's just a common theme. All of these teams that can't put it together are having tremendous struggles at quarterback this year.
Yeah, and I think that the running game is also affected by this as well. You look at the top 5 runners in the league, and a lot of them, I see a lot of AFC guys, 3 of the top 5. But then I go and look at quarterback, and I see 1, 2, 3. And all these 3 out of these 5, here's where the misconception comes. I see 3 out of 5 on their end, but their QBRs are poor outside of Ben Roethlisberger. So you're not getting quality play from these quarterbacks. You're getting a lot of turnovers. I mean, I can look at touchdowns and interceptions, and they just do not look good. Blake Bortles playing well in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins playing great for Washington. Cam Newton's having his best season in the MBL. I mean, Allen James for the Cardinals playing solid. I mean, I can name quarterbacks down the line. Carson Wentz is having his best season. So I have a bunch of quarterbacks in the NFC who are having their best season. While I look on the AFC, I'll say, well, he's thrown for a lot of yards. He's having one of his worst seasons, and that's where it really is starting to become an issue in the AFC. Especially for teams like the Houston Texans. Man, I look at a guy like Connor Cook. Right, this was supposed to be their guy. He had a QBR of 88.8. He was 14 touchdowns, 15 interceptions last year. This year his QBR is 88. So you're like, Bomber, what? In my Deca voice, what the hell are you talking about? Well, he's 15 touchdowns, 26 interceptions this year. He's got 11 more picks with 1 more touchdown. He's got 16 more sacks this year, 10 to 26. His completion percentage is up to 68. So this is all, he's thrown for 1,000 more yards, but he's only thrown 1 more touchdown, but he's thrown 11 more picks. It's just turnovers. And I think it's because they don't have the consistency at quarterback, and they're not having solid, efficient quarterback play in the AFC. And I think you hit the nail on the head. And that's even what's happening in Cincinnati. As much as he doesn't want to admit it with Andy Dalton is having his worst QBR year in the NBL. 26 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Last year, he was 30 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. There's a vibe here, but his completion percentage, it's higher. His yards are right there, but those extra interceptions and the lower touchdowns is what's really killing these AFC teams. Are turning the ball over. I think in the NFC they protect the ball a little bit more, and I think their run game is balanced with their passing game, and they protect the ball. I think that's pretty much what it comes down to. A lot more splash plays being created in the NFC. But that's it for our show. Lipp, you have anything else left to say? I mean, we're over an hour now.
Hey, that was a great hour. I mean, we had some great stuff. Just one more thing. You look at Bale Holmes from New York and Max Bragg from Chicago. Those guys, 2 more NFC guys. They're not quite in the playoff picture, but they're young quarterbacks putting their teams in the spot. And that is the big difference between the NFC and the AFC. And we proved that today on the show.
Yeah, and that's going to do it. Episode number 14, Commissioner's Corner Podcast. I'll get this loaded to our MBL Network YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. Right now we got 15 likes. I mean, we've had more than that in the chat. We should have a little bit more likes. Good to see. I just did a little head count of who's still in here. And we got a lot of people still in here, man. We got 20 people watching. So, big shout out to everybody that stayed along for this hour. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got the Titans versus the Jets. MBL Live. OSU on the call. Sonny on the call. Lipp, Gibbs behind the scenes pulling the strings. So we got a lot of things going on the NBL. Make sure you continue to give us a follow. Check us out on Twitter at Bomber League. And also, don't forget to check out our sponsor, web3chaos.com. That's affordable graphics for all your creative needs. You can also follow them on Twitter at All Business. So, for Bomber, for Lipp, for Gibbs behind the scenes, I'm going to say we're out, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. And don't forget, Check out the NBL Blitz. They got some great rookie stuff coming up, and I think they're going to do a back-to-back episode. So y'all go ahead and check that out, and y'all have a good day and a good night, and we'll see you on episode 15 in a couple weeks.